I never thought I would see her again at a friend's wedding, the most beautiful woman in the world who once betrayed me and broke my heart. She asks for my forgiveness, but I am torn. Welcome to the Love and Betrayed Love channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. It isn't difficult for you, but it's enjoyable for me, and we're getting started. She approached the table with a nervous smile. She was still as stunning as ever, with shoulder-length, auburn hair, blue eyes and a slight build. Yes, she was the world's most beautiful woman. She's best described as graceful, but she should not be here. I was promised she wouldn't be present. I believe they lied to me, as they had been doing for several months. I should have known in advance. I must be incredibly naive. Hello, Alex, can we speak? She desperately tried not to cry. What do you need, Christ? I want you to return. I am aware that I made a mistake. I just need to talk with you. I do not want to talk. In your opinion? Talking occurs when I sit and listen while I am unable to speak for myself. I'm done talking, especially with you. I got up and approached the party's host. Ignore the woman who used to be my wife. Tom and Sarah finally decided to get married, and it was their wedding celebration. They were the last of our small group to marry. Lisa and I were the first, and our marriage ended 6 months ago. I caught her cheating. I believe I only needed to sign checks and pay her bills. Sarah saw me first and grabbed Jan's arm. They were talking with Daniel and Emily, the other couple in our group. All 4 of them promised me that they would stop talking to her and that she would not be here. Only a few more lies. They lied when they claimed they knew nothing about her cheating. They were covering for her so she could have an alibi. They lied to me about her not being here even after everything had happened. The other 3 of them looked up to see me approaching. It should have ended right now. You just had to invite her, right? Following her actions and the manner in which she treated me. Are you still friendly with her? I was angry. Look, Alex, we know you're upset, but it's time to put an end to this nonsense and move back in together. We all know you still love her. Sarah. Step forward this time. Yes, Alex, she learned her lesson and will not do it again. Tom needed to support his new bride. Alex. It's time to swallow your pride, gather your strength and return to it. I believe there was anger in those words. Emily and Christ have been best friends throughout high school. Do you all think so? Everyone nodded enthusiastically. Okay, they all looked slightly disappointed. As I turned on my heel and walked up to the stage where the band was playing soft rock music. I approached the soloist and took the microphone from him. The band stopped playing and everyone turned to face the stage before focusing on me. Hello everyone. My name is Alex, and I'd like to tell you all about my friends, Tom and Sarah. It's not just about them, but also Daniel and Emily. I turned and smiled at them. I called them friends. But would true friends lie to you? If your wife was cheating on you, would they cover for her? If she left the party for half an hour, would they have remained idle? Would your wife have let you rake out the coals during the divorce? When your wife accuses you of being a cruel and treacherous husband in court, good friends defend you. They express sympathy when you have to give your unfaithful wife 80 of your total assets and pay 600 in alimony. Would they have done this? Would they exploit your wife behind your back? Emily and Sarah had confused expressions on their faces. Haha, you didn't know my ex-wife. I pointed out that Christy was making love with my supposed best friends, Daniel and Tom. They used my wife together. I believe my invitation to that party was lost. Of course, their wives were still unaware of it. Don't worry, I've got photos. However, Emily and Sarah should refrain from passing judgment on them. In fact, Emily informed me of Lisa's cheating. Emily gave me a sharp look one evening after drinking too much, and she revealed that my dear and faithful wife was walking behind my back. Imagine my shock, but then she realized she had let it slip and attempted to persuade me otherwise. I could argue that she worked hard to mitigate the consequences, but I didn't buy it. This led me to find a private investigator who specialized in cheating, and I got hours of video and photos. It all turned out to be a waste of money, given that I am now a wife abusing. At least that was what my ex-wife told the judge during our hearing, but I still saved the photos. I took out my phone and began showing pictures. Emily, in addition to being highly respected and devoted, has been making love to John for the past 3 months. I paused for a moment to let everyone know this. John and Daniel appeared angry, while Emily appeared demoralized. Sarah looked like she was about to get sick. I suppose there is only Sarah left. Oh sweet, Sarah has been using a guy named Ryan for at least a year. Sarah, who attempted to approach me as a distraction when Lisa went to use the restroom with another guy. Of course I turned her down because I loved my wife. She probably did it for fun. Who would want to use a fat guy, right? Wait, I'm no longer a fat guy. It's amazing how much gut-wrenching your 4 best friends do, and your wife works wonders for your diet. We're not finished yet. No, now my ex-wife wants me back. Ex-wife persuades cruel, treacherous fat husband to return. Why? Oh why? I assumed she was pleased that I had left her. She has most of my money. She has my house and car. Why the hell would she want me back? Let us ask her so. Darling, could you tell me why you need me to come back? I handed her the microphone and simply stared at her. This time she was in front of everyone, and in the middle she was shaking. She was very scared. She looked like she was about to give up. She took a deep breath before closing her eyes. When they opened, she felt a new sense of determination. The fear was still there, but it was under control. Alex, I love you. I made the biggest mistake of my life by cheating on you. I hurt you. I hurt and betrayed you in the worst way possible. To make matters worse, I charged you for what I did. I can't even express how sorry I am. I have no idea how to make it up to you. I'm not sure how I can regain your trust, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying, even if you do not want me anymore. I'll keep trying. I will do whatever you ask me to do. Anything. I lowered the microphone and paused for a second. You're going to swallow it all this time, just like your previous lovers. She smiled and grabbed my arm, pulling me away. She was slightly embarrassed when I did not move. No, I mean right now in front of everyone. Do you want my forgiveness? Would you like to be with me? Are you saying you love me? Then begin showing it in front of all of these people. Lisa glanced around nervously. I surprised her with my request. What is wrong, dear? It's bigger than I remembered. It's as if you've grown by 8 centimeters. Not quite as much, but it does occur when you lose a lot of weight. Wow, I'm not sure I can take everything in. You have no idea how much I enjoy that. You mentioned that, now suck it, dear. John approached behind me and placed his hand on my shoulder. Alex, don't make her do this. Today is my wedding night. Do not touch me anymore. You piece of his hand immediately slipped off my shoulder. If you touch me again, I will show your parents a photograph of you and Daniel performing double penetration on my wife. He looked at me with surprise. Yes, I also took a video. However, it appears to be too late. Sarah already knows about it. Sarah and Emily both looked angry. Do not worry about it, baby. Imagine how angry I was when I discovered she had met all of her lovers so early. She appeared disappointed. I am sorry, baby, no woman has touched me in over a year. Really, not a friend, nor anyone else. Nobody. Oh my God, what did I do? Tears were running down her cheeks. I couldn't be certain, but I believe they were tears of regret. She was working hard, harder and faster. Everyone applauded our little performance. She stood up and I kissed her. Most guys prefer not to kiss girls after they have swallowed their load. I am not most guys. Now I see it how foolish I was. What happens next? She smiled. I whispered something into her ear and she nodded enthusiastically. She liked my idea of getting back at the two who were still staring at us. She approached the two ladies and I followed. Emily. Sarah, are you still my friend? Yes, friend brothers are more valuable than cheaters. Everyone began laughing. Will you help me reclaim my husband? We'll do everything we can to help anything. They both smiled and glanced at me. Alex dreams of using 3 girls at the same time. He wants this to happen to all 3 of us. Will you do this for us? Yes, we'll do it. When Sarah became even more concerned, I believe she decided it was appropriate to repay. He wants us right now. Tom rushed forward and pushed me. He was angry. I don't think he realized what he was getting into. You cannot use my wife on our wedding night. I cannot. When you used my wife, it appears that you had no regard for my marriage. Look, Alex, I apologize, but this is our wedding night. I will not let that happen. He attempted to embarrass me with a look, but I refused to give up. It'll happen and this will continue until I'm satisfied. If you try to stop me, I'm going to kick your ass and then I'll sue you the cause of the family split. I will grab your ass. I believe his rage got the best of him because he took a swing at me. Easily avoided his clumsy attempt. He was unlucky. I punched him in the diaphragm. He lost his breath and balance as he lay on the ground, gasping for air. I knelt down and whispered into his ear. I will use your wife as much as I want. She will move in with me until I'm finished with her. You'll be patient. If you even speak to her, I will crush you. Everything you own will be mine. I don't think she'd want to be left with a piece of like you without money. Do not worry, I will treat her better than you did. My wife, you little bastard. I stood and looked at Daniel. Will there be a problem for you? Daniel shakes his head. Okay, you'll have the same deal as him. Your wife will move in with me until I am finished with her. If you attempt to contact her, you will become impoverished. I replied calmly, then turned to JN. Besides, if you try anything, I will send this photo of you two to everyone. You know I'll retouch my wife's face, but you two will appear in the foreground and center. I am sure your mother will be very disappointed with their son's activities. My gaze shifted to the 3 girls behind me. They were astounded by how easily I thwarted Jan's attempts to stop me. I forgot to mention that I lost weight after joining a boxing gym. I've been training for 7 months. Do you agree with the conditions I've set for them? Sarah looked at her husband with disdain. When should I move tonight? I need to get rid of the frustration that has built up over the years. How about you, Emily? She walked up to Daniel. You did not even fight for me. I know you'll probably get your ass kicked, but you could at least try. I have lost all respect for you. She turned to face me. I will do it. The only problem is that I won't have a husband for a long while. You can stay with us for as long as you want. Lisa appeared ecstatic that her 2 best friends were moving in with us. Okay, let's go. Oh yes, Sarah, take your dress with you. I've got another fantasy to use my friend's wife in her wedding gown. Sarah smiled as we walked through the crowd towards the car. What is the plan? Lisa asked to push the heavy memories out of her mind and move on. Sarah's joke brought out laughter from all 3 of them. No, I intended for today. What is the plan? Take clothes for a couple of days, then devote the next few days to fulfilling Alex's dream. Emily said I think he suffered enough. Can't we get clothes later? I really want to use Sarah for her wedding gown and I said clothes first. Then we'll return to our old house. You still live there, correct? Yes. However, it has been extremely lonely since you left. I'm glad you're returning with me. I never expected to return. I am not sure I want to do this, but I promised you a chance and I still plan to do it. I fell silent. The pain was coming back. She was once again seeping into my heart. I had to pause for a second. I had lost track of what I was doing because so much had happened in the last few minutes. Thankfully, Lisa understood what I was thinking then. Let us not go there. We will go somewhere else. Let's visit your father's cabin by the lake. It is quite large and private. We can do pretty much anything there. Why don't we split up and meet outside your home, Alex? Then we can head to the hut. It's a good idea, but I won't let you leave my side. Then I'll come with you. Girls, take my car. We will meet at Alex's in an hour. Then we will drive Alex's car to the cabin. She handed Emily the keys and we parted ways. Lisa took the passenger seat and watched me get into the driver's seat. I started the car and drove away from the parking lot. I must have had a worried look on my face. Alex, I understand you are taking a lot of risks with this. I cannot tell you how happy you make me. I understand that nothing is certain yet and that all of this may be meaningless, but I'm grateful that you're giving me this opportunity. We arrived home in record time. We entered and she had packed 2 suitcases with clothes, even grabbed some nightgowns. We got back in the car about 10 minutes later and Lisa decided to get ahead of the other girls before I had a chance to think. She was already on my lap and facing me. I will not let them take you first. I was a fool once, but I won't be again. Damn it. This is amazing. I can't believe this. She couldn't complete the sentence. When our eyes met, she burst into tears. I could see remorse on her face. Her eyes were filled with complete regret. She was lost in sadness and seeing her pain was incredible. It caught me by surprise. What was more surprising was that my pain began to subside. I embraced her and drew her into a passionate kiss. I just wanted to alleviate her suffering. I felt hot tears sting my cheeks. Now I've made my decision. This misery that we were both in was going to end tonight, and I was going to reclaim what was mine. I descended into its warm depths. She looked into my eyes and I could tell she was nervous. She sucked in a sharp breath and shuddered on my lap. Her nails dug into my skin again. I'm sure I'll get scratches after that. What the hell was that? A strong knock on the driver's door window jolted us back into reality. We both started and noticed 2 smiling faces. Emily and Sarah smiled cheek at us. I rolled down the windows. It was the hottest thing I had ever seen. I think we should stay here tonight and go to the cabin tomorrow. Emily spoke with such a lustful expression. I had a sinking feeling after hearing what we had just said. I wasn't sure if taking them with me was the best thing to do. I had what I wanted and I did not want to ruin it. Give us a minute, please. This is the key to my apartment. I threw the keys outside the window. Do not stay too long. Sarah said when they got to my house. I turned to Christ and gazed into her eyes. She was beaming from ear to ear, but I had my reservations about this. Lisa, after what we just discussed, I am confident that I love you deeply. I do not want to hurt you, and if you don't want them, we won't take them. I understand how it feels, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Well, perhaps only to the worst enemy, but I do not want to put you through this. Christ stopped me and kissed me. She pulled back and smiled at me. You're really cute. Even after everything I've done to you, you still strive to be a good husband. I adore you for that, but you deserved it. You are entitled to have 3 beautiful women like us give you pleasure. We were ready when you decided to use us for your pleasure. I don't mind if I have to share you for the rest of my life. As long as I have you, in fact, I shouldn't be here. I should have been in that old house sitting alone with my misfortune. However, this is not the case. I'm here with you because your heart is so big and full of kindness and love that you chose to have me here previously. I would drain your love and take away your kindness. Now I'm going to shower you with love and kindness. I want to share this with you and give you as much pleasure as I can. So let's go inside and make love with two more stunning women. We kissed and I opened the door. Christ attempted to get up and leave, but I held her close to me. She looked at me sheepishly. I just smiled. As I got out of the car, I slammed the door with my foot and hit the lock button. The first step caused me to move slightly inside her. She chuckled happily as I approached the front door. Every step caused me to slip out and then back in. Lisa was moaning and breathing heavily. She hugged me tightly and her lips touched my shoulder. We got to my apartment steps and she bit me on the first one. It was too much for her to bear and I could feel her pour out on me again. I thought I had killed her, but I could still hear her breathing rapidly. I briefly thought I had lost you, almost made. It was supernatural. I never imagined it could be like this. It is all a pleasure and I can't help but suspect it's a dream. I'd wake up tomorrow and be alone again. That is not going to happen. I will be with you and I believe Emily and Sarah will join us. Yes, we certainly will, Sarah commented, peeking out. Now, come into this house or we'll drag you inside. Sarah was wearing her wedding gown. I had to admit she looked stunning in it. Her long brown hair and slender figure could be admired. It was small in the chest region. It's probably the same size as the second, almost like Lisa, only taller. She has brown eyes, but who doesn't like girls with brown eyes? I carried Christ up the stairs. She screamed softly with each step. It was incredibly sweet. I never realized she made such noises. I entered the apartment and was immediately directed to the sofa. I gently laid Christ down on the sofa and then I was told to sit beside her. Your overall taste is very pleasant. Sarah said you should try it from the opposite side. This concept excited me. I believe my reaction was noticed. It appears that someone likes this idea. I'm wearing my dress as you asked. I believe it's time for you to give me what you gave her. I'm not certain I wanted to do that. I looked at Lisa. She smiled and nodded. I stood up and picked Sarah up off the floor. I seated her on the couch and gathered the dress around her waist. Lisa had a wide knowing smile on her face and Emily appeared to have seen a ghost. Sarah sat down with a satisfied smile, trying to catch her breath. Where in the hell did you learn that? Sorry, ladies, it is a trade secret. She smiled again and nodded. You are full of surprises tonight. It was the craziest thing I'd ever done. Emily gave a gasp. I didn't realize you were so strong. I've been working on it, I explained with a smile. Sarah came up to us impatiently and Emily instructed her to lie across the couch. I looked at Christ and she appeared to have been left out of work. I motioned her to join me. She obediently approached me with a smile. She wasted no time and happily jumped up on the edge of the sofa, climbed onto the armrest and leaned back. We all collapsed on the couch. Christ sat on my lap, hugging me. We kissed slowly while resting. It was late and I was exhausted, so I decided to go to bed with what little strength I had left. I picked Christ up and carried her into my bedroom. Sarah and Emily followed me. We all lay down and cuddled up with one another. Lisa lay on top of me on my stomach. It was so light that I had no issues. I heard 3 people snoring lightly, and then I flew to the land of dreams. I was awakened by sunlight streaming through the window, which led to my sad realization. I was alone, naked and covered in a blanket. I could still feel Christ's body on me, and the fact that she wasn't present left me feeling empty. Was this a one-night stand? Is she finished with me now? So what about the other 2? Are they also gone forever? When I heard voices coming from the kitchen, all of my fears were dispelled. My apartment was small and unique. The front door led into the living room and on the other side was the kitchen. The hall, which included 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, was located in the center, separating 2 larger rooms. I sat up, got out of bed and put on my sweatpants and t-shirt. I overheard what they were saying and was intrigued. I could not see the hallway from the kitchen, so I went to the corner to listen. The sweet aroma of coffee wafted into my nostrils and almost made me leave, but Sarah's question made me reconsider how crazy it was. Last night I had the best night of my life, so are you really going to divorce him? That is a good question, Chrissy. Hell yes, that jerk cheated on me first. That is why I started cheating. Now that I've been with a man who knows how to please a woman, I refuse to settle for anything less and don't, Emily. I hope you won't try to steal Alex from me, dear Christ. They will not be able to in a million years. What kind of a friend would she be if she did this? Definitely not me. That's correct, Emily. Speaking of sleeping with our guys, how did you end up with both JN and Daniel at the same time? This is the story that I want to hear. It happened just before Alex caught me having an affair. I thought I had a great time and everything went perfectly. Then I noticed something. Lisa paused. What is it? Both girls asked enthusiastically. I was not thrilled. I was only delighted with Alex. He wasn't very good in bed at the time and he was overweight, but he could lift my spirits. He knew exactly what to say. When I was sad, he always made me feel like a queen. Then I noticed that he had changed. He was depressed and he stopped joking. There were so many thoughts running through my mind about what was wrong. Then I realized what went wrong. I was the reason for everything. I left him out. I scolded him all the time. I repeatedly humiliated him. I was a complete fool to him. No wonder he felt terrible. I made him like this. It's just me. When I realized what I was doing, I felt sick. I hated myself. How could I do this to the sweetest, nicest and most loving man on the planet? Of course he had flaws, but what I did to him was unforgivable, so I owed to end it all and become the most amazing and faithful wife in history. I was going to do everything I could to keep it. Then one day JN showed up at my workplace. He had pictures of me with different men. I nearly threw up then. He threatened to show them to Alex unless I met him at his house. I was afraid of losing Alex, so I agreed. I had no idea what would happen to him and Daniel until I found him there. They used me, bastards. They called me names and harmed me in every way. They hurt me so badly that Alex has been the only man I've allowed to touch me since then. I despise them both. When Alex hit Tom in the ribs for the final time that evening, I took great pleasure in watching him suffer. I promised myself that if I found them again, they'd get a double dose of this pain. They were his friends. Lisa, we didn't realize they did it. I'm very sorry. Sarah has a large heart. It's okay. Alex is back. Hopefully now forever he will protect me. Furthermore, the way he made love to me last night alleviated my fear of his touch. He was amazing last night. I'm not sure how he learned all of these tricks, but I wouldn't mind another round with him. Emily appeared happy. Hey, you promised. I know I just said he's always welcome in my bed. I wish I knew where he learned all this. He played with my body like a violin. I grinned as I turned the corner. I read the book. When I spoke, all three jumped. A very unique book written by a woman. She has hundreds of techniques for making a woman do this. What a moment of bliss. They all laughed when I wrinkled my face to say the final few words. Where did you find this book? Emily asked. She handed it to me herself. I told her about my plan and she offered to help. She said what I intended to do was inspiring. I believe it helped more than I could have hoped. I stated what is the plan. Lisa asked, my plan is to get you back. I was going to do everything possible to get you back. That's why I started boxing to get in shape. I read this book 4 times to sure that I had understood everything correctly. If you wanted me back, why did you divorce me? I wasn't smiling anymore. I knew this question would arise. I walked over to Christ, ignoring the empty chair beside her. I carefully picked her up and sat down, placing her in my lap. I hugged her tightly when I asked the detective to follow you over the last 2 weeks. He recorded videos and photos of you with John and Daniel. She tensed, but I hugged her even tighter. I was so angry that I ignored the obvious pain on your face. I thought I had lost you, but now I don't have a chance to please you, so I contacted my lawyer and began acting. When Tom invited me to the wedding, I told him I did not want you there. If I see him again, I will end our relationship. Last night you showed up, anger flared up in me again. I did exactly what they did. I took advantage of you at your most vulnerable. I was looking for my own pleasure before yours. It's much worse for me than anything you could possibly do. I will never forgive myself for having to protect you. I should have performed better, and I sincerely apologize. She turned to me, seated on her lap, and kissed me. I had no idea they had taken advantage of her, and I was angry that I had missed it. I was going to repay them for what they had done to her. Of course she was walking behind me, but no one deserves to be raped. That is what they did. They forced her to submit to their will. I was guilty of the same thing. How foolish I was. She drew back and straddled me on her lap. I also have something to apologize about. I was the one who put myself in that situation. I was the one looking to please someone else. I should have approached you and talked. You were my husband and I couldn't understand it. All I had to do was speak with you and trust you. I was a fool too, and if you can forgive me, I have no reason not to forgive you. She kissed me again more passionately. Please tell me that this means you'll be mine forever. I meant what you said. I'll never stop trying to get you back. She broke out in a smile. It is too late, young lady. She frowned at my statement. You have already won me over. You will now be unable to get rid of me, no matter how hard you try. Chrissy held on to me for the majority of the morning. I think she was afraid I would abandon her. Perhaps she was afraid I would leave and use one of her friends. It probably won't happen again. We were all sitting in the living room discussing what the future holds for Tom and Daniel. I am going to divorce him. I only began cheating because he did it first. I want a husband who is as faithful as you, Alex. I want a man who loves me the way you do. Christy. Emily began crying. I could see the pain in her eyes. I wasn't always like this. About 6 months ago, I was not a good husband. No, Alex, Christy started, but I interrupted her with a kiss and a smile. Listen to me, baby, I have been going to counseling for a long time. When I found out you were in, I became quite depressed. Pain, anger, disappointment and the desire to see you every day, knowing what I knew almost sent me over the edge. Christ's body was tense and I could feel it. She squeezed my hand so hard that I thought she'd break my fingers. My natural reaction was to pick her up and place her in my lap. She dissolved into me and clung to me. I wanted her to know that I was not contemplating suicide. It's okay, baby. I wanted the doctor and he helped me figure everything out. He also introduced me to Dr. Joyce. She made me realize what I'd done wrong, but I changed it. Christ exclaimed in horror, yes, you did it, but I also played a role in it. How I have forgotten what marriage is. All three of them looked at me as if I was crazy about marriage. You are not only devoted to someone, but also to their happiness and desires. Dr. Joyce helped me understand something. They hung on each word. A happy wife will not cheat. Dr. Joyce questioned how we make love and how I try to satisfy you. 2 weeks later she revealed what hurt the most. Alex, you're a lazy lover. You give up quickly, but you didn't put much effort into it in the first place. This is why she cheated on you. If you want her to come back, you must make an effort, but I assumed you were happy. Sarah looked at Christ with disbelief. Yes, I was, but then I became disappointed. Disappointment led to resentment. Then I became angry. That was when I decided to make a change. To tell the truth, I was not thrilled. The only problem was that cheating did not benefit anyone in any case, it only made matters worse after the first few times. I too felt guilty. This only worsened my problem. That's when I decided to stop, and then John and Daniel blackmailed me into sleeping with them. It was my turn to flinch. Lisa drew closer to me. I saw you with him. I was so angry that I couldn't think or. Clearly, I divorced instead of trying to get you back. Last night when you showed up, I was furious. Then, out of anger, I took advantage of you. I awoke this morning to hear you tell a story about how they raped you. I clenched my fist. I had to beat the hell out of them. I spoke through gritted teeth. Yes, maybe I should have, but we wouldn't have had such a good time last night. You'd be in jail and Lisa wouldn't be any closer to getting you released. Sarah was correct. To hell with them. I will not waste any more time thinking about these two. I want to spend my life with the love of my life. Lisa kissed me. Despite everything that had happened, I still genuinely loved her. Christ, I love you. I am not perfect, but I will do everything in my power to make you happy. However, I'll need assistance. You'll need to remind me from time to time. You'll have to be honest and tell me what you want. Don't wait until it's so frustrating that you can't take it anymore. Just let me know and I will do my best to fix it. Right now all I want is you and some pizza. I am hungry. Yes, she was correct. I wasn't going to waste another second worrying about those jerks. I was about to begin a new life and my woman was by my side. It is time to take care of our own happiness. Lisa and I remarried shortly after. I still have insecurities and doubts, but she tells me every day that she only loves me. I do my best to make her happy and love her as she deserves. We are pleased and intend to expand our family. We sold the old house because Chris didn't like it. When we married, I told her to let me know if she was unhappy with anything in the house first. Lisa likes the bigger house we bought. In fact, Emily and Sarah left their two unfaithful husbands. Sometimes we see Daniel, but he knows better than to approach us. Lisa acts as if he is not there. She wasn't kidding when she said she wouldn't waste a second with them. Tom was dubbed a cuckold in the city. I suppose if you let a guy run away with your fiancée on their wedding night, it will harm your reputation. He had to leave to avoid being ridiculed. Even his own parents who attended the wedding lost respect for him. I introduced Emily and Sarah to a few good guys from the gym where I still train. I gave them both a copy of Dr. Joyce's book and asked them to read it carefully. I've never seen two women smile so big in my life. Lisa began working out with me at the gym. We like spending time together. She's actually quite good at boxing, probably because of my red hair. I had to go through hell to get my life back, but it was worthwhile. Oh yes, we never reached the cabin. It was one hell of a weekend. Here is the next story. Sophie and I became empty nesters at the age of 45 after our son, Jonathan, left for Oxford University. We were proud of our son and his scholarship, but now we needed to rebuild our relationship and begin a new life with our children. I expected our relationship to improve and we'd resume our regular, enjoyable activities. However, for the first 2 months, Sophie was depressed about her son's departure from home. She also realized she was about to turn 46 and had new wrinkles and gained weight. I found these changes appealing, but she felt as if her youth and excitement were fading. After some research, I discovered that this was fairly common. I gave her positive feedback, compliments and the opportunity to adjust to our new family situation. It took several months, but she arrived home from work on Friday night, happy and excited like my wife from 20 years ago, full of smiles. She was like a new woman and we spent the weekend reconnecting after years of taking care of responsibilities. Before I even took off my clothes, Sophie was on her knees and eager to please. Sophie was not a fan of oral pleasure, so this was a new experience, but that night she sucked me into her mouth and enjoyed it gently. To my surprise, she swallowed a mouthful of my liquid, which she had never done before. Then she pulled me down onto the bed and took off her dress, revealing her modestly dressed lower half. This mysterious woman piqued my interest. I became increasingly excited and aroused. As I approached, I found myself face down between her legs, assisting her in reaching a tremendous climax. Her scream was unexpectedly intense, but it served as a powerful release. All of this was new and thrilling. I did not have to wait very long. As soon as her scream stopped, I gently entered her welcoming embrace and we shared an intimate moment for the next 5 minutes. Our connection resulted in another great climax for both of us, as we collapsed into each other's arms. We spent the majority of the weekend in bed, exploring new depths in our relationship and experiencing intimacy like we'd never had before. The next morning, I awoke with Sophie snuggled up next to me and I couldn't stop smiling. "Good morning, beautiful," I said, appreciating the incredible night we had together. "Whatever happened last night? I really wanted to continue." "I love you too," Sophie said, gently stroking my arm after a hearty breakfast. We both felt like our relationship had gotten back on track and we were ready to embark on the next chapter of our lives together. What I didn't realize at the time was that it wasn't me but a man from her workplace who fueled her passion to new heights. Over the last 6 weeks, this man expressed an interest in Sophie. His kind words and playful banter rekindled some of her youthful energy and confidence. This had a positive impact on our bedroom relationship, but it also caused unintended complications over the next few months. 9 months later, our lives were going well. We were financially secure and had jobs we enjoyed. Jonathan was getting along well at school and our relationship had been great for the past 3 months, with us feeling closer than ever. I still didn't know what sparked her increased emotional connection, but I relished every moment, daily acts of affection and wonderful moments of intimacy every night, and I enjoyed spending time with her. It was pure happiness and I was glad she felt the same way and that I was meeting all of her needs. I felt like a supportive partner able to be there for her at this new, deeper level of emotional connection. Every Friday night we would go on a special outing after work. We would watch a movie and eat dinner before heading to a unique location to relax and connect. This enabled us to maintain a life outside of our home. We both enjoyed our Friday nights and tried to make the most of them. In comparison to our friends, we began spending more quality time together. I always want to keep the bond strong. On this particular Friday night, my partner suggested going to a new spot for a drink after dinner. She playfully squeezed my arm and smiled mischievously, implying that it would be an unforgettable experience. She wanted to visit the Hideaway, which was a short drive away. She had heard about it from her colleagues. It was a thrilling club with live jazz music filling the atmosphere. We had some drinks at the bar and Sophie was as affectionate as ever. I admired her energy and looked forward to spending time with her in a private setting. She definitely had me excited, and that's when I felt her hand caressing my leg through my pants. Sophie smiled and gave me a tender kiss on the lips as she continued to stroke me, bringing me close to a peak. Before stopping, she continued to tease me by nibbling on my earlobe and whispering playful words into my ear. I wanted to deepen our connection at the bar, but the band stopped playing, so we had to end our public displays of affection. While I was sipping my third mocktail, the band took a break and a man I didn't recognize approached us. He enthusiastically inquired, "Sophie, is that you look great tonight?" I exchanged a surprised glance with my wife, who appeared uneasy. She then introduced us. "Hello, Eric. It's wonderful to see you, Eric. This is my husband, James," she said, as they exchanged friendly hugs. Even in my slightly tipsy state, my instincts hinted at something amiss, causing me to feel uneasy. I noticed a series of coincidences: a positive atmosphere at home, a new bar, a wife who is extra affectionate, and a chance encounter with a man at the bar she recommended we visit. I had no solid evidence or grounds to suspect anything inappropriate, but I was becoming more cautious. Eric appeared to be in his early 40s, attractive and had a voice similar to Barry White. It was easy to imagine how his voice affected listeners. He was friendly and engaged in conversation, which allowed me to relax after another drink. As I relaxed, I began to consider that his arrival could have been a coincidence. The jazz band resumed playing after a 20-minute break. Everything seemed fine until Eric asked if he could take my wife out to dance. She stood up and said of course he does not mind, do you honey? Before leading him to the dance floor, I was left behind and unable to respond. I was upset when I realized this was a setup after 3 slow dances. I nearly left her and drove home, but I decided to stay and see how the situation developed. As I observed, minor details began to irritate me, such as Eric standing too close to my wife. It bothered me how she rested her head on his shoulder, arms wrapped around his neck. It bothered me how he whispered into her ear. My intuition kicked in and I realized there was something wrong. They returned and pretended nothing was unusual, and Eric started a new conversation, as if slow dancing with my wife was a common occurrence. Eric was extremely complimentary of my wife and how much she had helped him at work. When he asked about my hobbies and interests, Sophie answered for me as if it were pre-planned. James enjoys watching football and is an avid Manchester United fan. He never misses a game on television. Hey, James, have you heard about the playoff game tomorrow? You and Jake are always present for each match, right? Absolutely, we wouldn't miss it for anything. We're going to the pub to cheer on our team against Liverpool. James, I've got some exciting news for you. One of my suppliers gave me 2 tickets to the game, but since I am not a football fan, I decided to give them away. He took out an envelope and showed the tickets, which were for Tier 1 center field. These were incredible seats, almost impossible to obtain, but there they were. I recognized the situation for what it was. It was like the serpent in the Garden of Eden offering Eve the apple and instructing her to take a bite. I responded jokingly, wow, those are fantastic seats. You should definitely attend and enjoy the game. This does not quite suit me, friend. I'm saying I won't be using them, so please take them and enjoy the game. I mean, having your Marine spouse there would be an honor. Yes, it was. My credibility grew, but I accepted the tickets, and if he called me old pal or old fellow again, I was going to say it. Well, I had to remain calm. I calmly said thank you, Eric. That is very kind of you. I am confident, Sophie, and I will have a good time at the game. I knew what to expect when my lovely wife spoke up. Oh dear, I am not a fan of those events. You should go with Jake. I mean, you two would have more fun there than I would. Do not worry about me. I have a lot to do. So you've decided to go with Jake tomorrow. At this point, I was unsure of the scope of their relationship. I wasn't sure if she was already with him or if she was thinking about starting our relationship, but it was clear that she wanted him, and I found myself on the sidelines. She appears to have misinterpreted my determination and cunning as I chose to observe this situation unfold. I had no concrete evidence except my instincts, what I saw on the dance floor and the apparent arrangement at the bar tonight. So I'd let this play out and see where it goes. As I made plans, I knew there was no way I was going to share my wife, no matter how many playoff tickets or money were offered. If she wanted to involve someone else, she could do so, but I would not be a part of the game and her fate would be decided. I recognized Eric for who he really was. Eric was a refined individual with a charming voice. Yes, he seemed charming, intelligent, prosperous and alluring, and what many women in their 40s may be drawn to. However, the woman he was pursuing was married and not on the market. Eric was one of those people who enjoyed the thrill of seducing married women and turning their husbands into unwilling participants. It gave him a sense of power, boosted his ego, and enabled him to engage in relationships without making any commitments. I recognized him for what he was: a morally corrupt individual. Sophie was upbeat after a fun night out with Eric and some drinks. She didn't realize I'd been silent since we left the bar at home. Sophie was full of energy and excitement, but I was still upset and pretended to have a headache, blaming it on the drinks we'd consumed earlier. I pretended to sleep while Sophie lay down beside me. She used her fingers to explore and satisfy her desires. After the thrilling evening we had shared, Jake and I went to the playoff game, but I wasn't totally unaware. Before leaving the house, I placed 2 voice-activated recorders which I had purchased that morning and activated the Find Me app on her phone while she was showering. I expected them to meet up or discuss the previous night's events at the bar, because they knew I would be gone. To my surprise, she did not leave while I was at the game, and there were no intriguing recordings on the devices I had hidden. I remained on high alert for any upcoming events. When I got home from the game, Sophie was nicely dressed and had prepared a delicious dinner for me. Following a warm hug and a loving kiss, she led me into the kitchen. "How was the game, dear? Have we won?" "Yes, Manchester won by 3-1. Sweetheart, you must be overjoyed to have been able to attend the game from such great seats." "That was very thoughtful of Eric." "Yes, very considerate, and the seats were excellent." Sophie appeared pleased and smiled throughout the evening. From that day forward, I couldn't help but overhear conversations about Eric at work or during their lunches, his accomplishments, his lakeside cottage, his travels, and how kind he was. My patience was wearing thin. Then one night she came home glowing and full of energy, throwing her arms around me and showering me with love. That was a warm welcome. "What's happening? You won't believe this, but do you remember the opera El Trovato?" "Yes, you've been talking about it for years." "Why?" "Well, there is a performance at the Royal Opera House this Friday." "Sophie, you know I'm not a fan of opera. Do you actually want to go?" "Yes, I do, but you do not have to go." That is the really good news. You see, I had lunch with Eric today and he told me he had just received fantastic tickets to the opera. Another supplier gave them to him, similar to the ones he gave you for the football playoff game. When he heard that I had always wanted to see this opera, he offered them to me, but was disappointed when I told him how much he disliked the opera and refused to go. Then he had an excellent idea and offered to take me to the opera of my dreams, followed by a nice dinner. Wasn't that sweet of him, my dear? Extremely generous. What a nice person. I said, trying to be polite before continuing, but of course you rejected him. Well, no, why should I do that? I understand you don't want to go, but it's not a big deal. Surely you don't mind if I accompany Eric? It is a huge deal. The big deal is that you do not go on a social outing with another man, whether I am at home or away. That is not what a partner does. I'm surprised you'd even consider accepting an invitation. I replied fully, aware that everything was pre-planned. Oh my, I didn't consider it a social outing. I'm sorry you got it all wrong. You are familiar with Eric and he is one of our friends. I mean, he gave you those wonderful playoff tickets and you had a great time. He paid for all of our drinks and has become a good friend at work for me. I am sure you understand. I smiled to myself as I decided to give her enough rope to hang herself and see where it led. Yes, he did all of that and he seems like a nice guy, but I'm not comfortable with my wife going out with another man. I would rather you didn't go or do anything risky, but you're an adult and you can make your own decision. However, please consider my feelings. She appeared to understand my annoyance and stated, I won't upset you again. I understand your concern. I apologize if I made you feel uncomfortable. I reassured her. My feelings are fine. It's only my concern for my wife. She approached and gave me a gentle kiss on the forehead. Don't worry, I love you and this isn't going to be a date. Let's not talk about it anymore. We moved on from the issue, but I couldn't forget about it. When she asked for some intimate time that evening, I mentioned having a headache because I was so upset and hurt from our conversation. I wasn't sure if she had been physically involved with him, but she was developing a relationship with him. Whether she realized it or not. I knew that if I didn't address it, there would be serious consequences if she stayed with him. Our relationship was over. The Eric situation was becoming a much bigger issue and I expressed my feelings about constantly hearing about him, which made me a little jealous. I asked her not to meet him for lunch. She refused and countered my request. James, I declined the opera tickets you requested, but I believe you are being unreasonable and I will not let this affect our friendship. If that includes the occasional lunch, you'll have to be more understanding. Of course I was frustrated, but I needed to find a way to deal with this without causing further conflict in our marriage. Soon after, in addition to lunches, we began drinking after work. When I accused her of having an affair, she insisted there was nothing romantic going on and that she just enjoyed his company. "So you are not attracted to Eric?" I asked, trying not to accuse her. "Do not lie to me, Sophie." "Honey, every woman at the office finds him attractive, but I am committed to you and have not done anything," she responded. "You wish you could, don't you?" I asked cautiously, which girl wouldn't. "I mean, he's so charming and his voice is captivating. But don't worry, I don't need to worry. How would you react if I went to lunch and after-hours drinks with a girl? I'd like to spend time with something. Tells me you won't be as understanding." The conversation did not go well and tensions between us rose for several days. She was upset at the thought of me being with another woman and made it clear that it was not an option. She threatened to take extreme measures if I ever cheated. I assumed she was overreacting and concerned about our future as a married couple. Then one night she arrived home 3 hours late without calling, which made me worried. She walked in as if nothing was wrong, kissed me and pretended everything was fine. To her surprise, I pushed her back and gave her a stern expression. I made it clear how I felt about the situation. "It's wonderful to see you back home. How was your evening?" My wife had never heard me speak to her in such a way, and she quickly apologized, explaining that her phone had died and she had lost track of time. She promised me she would never do that again. "Were you with Eric?" Sophie hesitated and did not respond. I felt anger rising within me and made it abundantly clear that our marriage was in jeopardy. "If this behavior continues, Sophie, please understand if I discover that you have been intimate with Eric or are involved in an inappropriate relationship. Our marriage is over. I will not tolerate deception or living with someone who has betrayed my trust." She was shaken but insisted. She had always been faithful, apologizing. She pledged to make amends for the first time. I believed Sophie recognized the gravity of my expectations. She stopped discussing his greatness with me. Nonetheless, she joined him for lunch and drinks without informing me. The only difference was that I was no longer hearing about their time together or his remarkable qualities. 2 weeks later at dinner, I cautiously asked if she had stopped eating lunch and chatting with Eric. She gently touched my arm and smiled as if I were a child, attempting to soothe my emotions in a compassionate manner. She admitted that she was still spending time with him, but she chose not to tell me to avoid causing me distress. To my surprise, she had no idea how upset I became after hearing her revelation. What she said next stunned me, because no ordinary person would put up with such a situation. "Baby, you know I love you, and Eric is just a friend. The thing is, he wants to take me to his company's dinner function because his date cancelled. Today he needs a companion, and because we're such good friends, I told him I'd go with him and that you'd be fine with it." Shaking my head in disbelief, I replied, "No, I am not okay with it, so no, you can't accompany him." "Darn it, Sophie, you're still my wife, at least for the moment. James, please stop being a jealous old fool. He's our friend and he needs my assistance. I'm leaving and you'll just have to trust me. I promise you will be fine, old fool." "That is not fair, Sophie. He has rubbed off on you and now you are calling me an old fool. Sophie, if you leave, I promise I will not be okay and things between us will not go well. I cannot physically stop you, but the answer is no, you can't go." Sophie understood and stopped bothering me about the situation. The next day after her confession, Eric called me at work. Apparently, Sophie gave him my phone number in the hopes that he would persuade me to reconsider. She was going to get an earful when I got home later that night. "James, old friend, how are you doing?" Eric inquired, hoping to start a conversation. "Eric, what a surprise. What can I do for you?" I asked. "We're waiting to see what the predator had in mind. I called to apologize for involving Sophie in my company's event. I realize now that it was a mistake and I apologize if it caused any issues at home." "Yes, that was shocking." I told her how I felt. Yes, she informed me my mistake was not asking for your permission before putting Sophie in that position. It should have been a man-to-man conversation. I was astounded by his confidence and hypnotic delivery. It only made me angry. Allow me to make it up to you. If you want season tickets to Manchester, I can arrange that. Eric, do you want me to trade my wife for some football tickets? Are you attempting to transform my wife into a well for something inappropriate? Companionship with merchandise. Do you believe that little one ever looks? I believe you misread me. I do not share my wife with anyone, and if you call me old man or old chap again, I swear I will rip out your tongue the next time we meet. Now I'm capable of purchasing my own tickets. Let's just put all of this in the past. I insist that you leave Sophie alone and find another woman to keep you company. I said this with obvious anger in my voice, James. He seemed to ignore everything I said and just kept talking. Hello, James, my friend. I'm sorry if you feel that way, but I really like Sophie and wanted to ask if she could join me at my event. I requested your permission for her to be my date for that one night. Please don't be mad at Sophie, even if she wants to leave. This is my decision, so would you reconsider her as my date for that one night? Eric, pay close attention. No, please stop asking. She is not going with you. That concludes things. In fact, I'd like you to stop eating lunch with her and meeting her after work for drinks. It's affecting our relationship and I'm sure you understand how I feel. I'm sorry you feel that way, James, but we're just friends and I don't intend to let that change because of your insecurities. I'm disappointed that you won't do me this one favor, given everything I've done for you, including giving you those fantastic football tickets and offering season tickets. It's disheartening that you don't appreciate my kindness. I've already expressed my gratitude for the tickets and, as previously stated, I can purchase my own football tickets. Please leave me alone and stop meddling in my marriage. I said, hanging up the office phone that evening. I returned home to find Sophie noticeably quiet. It was clear that she was aware of our conversation, but unsure how to proceed. She couldn't take the silence any longer. I overheard your conversation with Eric today. Did you need to be so direct? You made him uneasy. The cool look I gave her after asking if I had to be so direct could have cooled our pond in the heat of summer. Wow, I'm only worried about his feelings, not my husband's. Why did you give him my business phone number? Do you want to be with him so bad? She looked down and said I was hoping you two would get to know each other better. You know, so we could hang out together. I am sorry how things turned out. I never wanted people to feel awkward. Are you out of your mind? I am not interested in getting involved with him. I've already told him to stop taking you out for lunch and drinks. Please remember that you are a married woman. It is critical to behave appropriately to avoid negative consequences. This comment infuriated her, so she retorted. Stop acting like a possessive teenager. We have been married for 20 years and nothing will change that. I hope you're correct. I'd be disappointed if I thought I'd spent the last 20 years with the wrong person. This comment appeared to catch her off guard and I hoped she'd reconsider her actions. The rest of the night was quiet, with no closeness. In fact, I began staying in our son's room, hurt by her words and actions. Sophie was upset by my decision and attempted to make amends. Over the following weeks, she claimed to have stopped seeing Eric for lunch and concentrated on becoming a more loving partner. I eventually returned to our bed, but I was hesitant to share intimate moments with a woman who clearly had feelings for another man. She became frustrated with my reluctance and attempted several times to rekindle our connection. I felt uneasy knowing she was still close to Eric. To save my marriage, I needed to exercise caution. Unfortunately, I discovered the date of Eric's event while looking through my wife's text messages on her phone. We didn't have passcodes and I'd never snooped before, so there was no reason for secrecy. Seeing her plans made me sad because I knew our relationship would change. However, this information helped me plan more effectively. To my surprise, her last few weeks as the caring spouse were an attempt to win me back and make me forget about Eric. What I discovered was that my deceitful wife intended to tell me she was going to an event with Eric the following Thursday night. Then I had an idea. I wanted to see if she would go with him or stay faithful, despite the fact that I had forbidden her from doing so. The following morning at breakfast, I informed my spouse that I had a meeting in London on the 22nd and would not be returning home until the evening. Given that Eric's event was also on the 22nd, I gave my partner two options: either be open about her intentions and share her plans, or choose deception and go to the event without disclosing her actions. Regardless of her decision, I made it clear that I would not stay in the marriage. If she openly discussed her plans and attended the party, a separation would begin and I would initiate the process. If she chose to attend the event without informing me, a marriage would end. Unfortunately, she kept quiet and did not reveal her intentions. She continued to deceive me by displaying affection and being the perfect spouse. Every evening, I enjoyed delicious dinners, a clean home and warm embraces when I returned from work, but there was no mention of Eric or the upcoming gathering on Thursday morning. I bid her farewell for the final time and left for work. With no plans to travel to London, I'd spend the night at the same hotel where the event was taking place. Over time I sought legal advice and began gathering the necessary documents for a divorce. We discussed a possible date to serve the papers. I proposed paying double the fee for the process server to be present at the hotel where the event was taking place and to hand over the papers once I agreed. If she behaved as I expected, our relationship would end Eric's dinner celebration. I sat in the lobby dressed in a subtle disguise of a face mask, tinted glasses and a cap at 8:00 p.m., as I was reading a newspaper with a perfect view of the front doors. Eric entered the hotel with my wife on his arm. She wore a tasteful black dress, dark stockings and high heel, leaving her shoulders slightly exposed as if she had forgotten her bra. They greeted others with a friendly, celebratory tone. They appear to be a loving couple. Although I had anticipated their arrival, I was not expecting to witness their close relationship so openly. I managed to keep my emotions under control and captured the scene on my phone. Later, I would show this footage to my son to explain why his mother and I were separating. As I noticed her with Eric, I dialed her number and saw Murray look at her phone, recognizing the caller before sending the call to voicemail. Witnessing her ignore my call and refocus on Eric made me feel as if someone had reached into my chest and extracted my heart. Years of devotion to Sophie appeared to vanish in an instant. My eyes welled up with tears, but I managed to hold them back, leaving several messages in a desperate attempt to save our deteriorating relationship. Hello, sweetheart. It's 8:00 p.m. I hope everything is fine, since your phone went to voicemail. I really miss you and care about you. I hoped she would hear the message, reconsider her actions and leave the gathering before things got out of hand. There was still the possibility of change if she left the party or reached out to express her feelings. The journey to understanding. She did not pay attention to the messages that night. I remained near the dining area, observing them from a distance. It was clear she was closer to him than she let on. They acted like a couple through about dinner. I stayed hidden until about 10 p.m. After several dances and some kissing, it was clear they were about to leave the dinner party. I already knew from the text that he had a room at the hotel and the 100 I gave the bellman secured me room 1246 Kim. The process server arrived promptly at 10 p.m. and we discussed my plans. I thanked her and handed her an extra 200 for her assistance. At 11:00 p.m., Kim and I took the elevator to the 12th floor and knocked on room 1246's door. We heard some rustling as I stepped back from the crowd. "Who is it?" a deep voice inquired from within the room. Kim held up her ID, which was visible through the peephole, and asked security to open the door. He did not appear to examine the ID she presented, but it was effective. As we heard the slide disengage from the door, it opened just enough to reveal Eric's face, and before he could speak, I stepped in front of Kim and forcefully kicked the door open, causing Eric to stumble backward and fall to the floor. Naked and in disbelief, a female gasped from within the room. As Eric landed in front of Sophie, Her gasp turned into a loud scream when she realized it was me standing there, exposed and in front of her naked body, with white fluid dripping from her legs. Eric lay on the floor and it was clear that she had just been intimate with someone. I gently placed my foot near his shoulder, keeping my 150-pound frame nearby. I told him to be still. I gestured to Kim, who approached Sophie and handed her the divorce papers. Kim informed Sophie that she had been served and took a photo of her holding the envelope. Her expression was a combination of shock and confusion. I took off my wedding ring and tossed it towards the damp spot on the bed. Sophie realized the consequences of her actions after witnessing my pain, but her desire for me arrived too late. James, I apologize. I made a major mistake and I do not want to lose you. I realize this looks bad, but you know I love you and I do not want a divorce. Please let me come home with you so that I can explain everything and make things right again. Please do not do this. I simply shook my head in disbelief and looked at the woman in front of me for the first time. I realized she looked old and out of shape, seeing her standing there. Her emotions raw was difficult to process. After seeing all of this, any feelings I had for this woman vanished. After all these years, the love I felt was replaced by understanding and sadness. That became the last scene of our marriage. Standing over Eric, my foot still on his neck, I asked Kim to move away from me once she had left the room. I addressed my wife in a concerned and upset tone. Congratulations. You broke my heart and ended our 20-year relationship in the worst possible way. You lied to me, deceived me and then allowed this person to have a moment with you. Because of that, you've ended our time together. Simply sign the divorce papers and don't come home until Saturday afternoon. I'll need a day to move my belongings out of the house. You can stay in our flat until it sells, which should not be too long. In the meantime, consider moving in with this person. I said, removing my boot from his chest and slamming it down on his exposed leg. I slammed my heel once more to ensure a proper connection. I did, and the sound of a man in excruciating pain filled the room as I exited with my wife for the last time. Epilogue: Eric suffered a painful injury and lost both testes when a heavy object fell on him. He considered taking legal action, but Sophie was warned that if she supported him, private details about her family would be revealed. She decided not to testify and remained silent about the incident. Eric felt let down by Sophie, the woman he had previously taken from the user. After 2 months of attempting to rebuild their relationship, Sophie reluctantly signed the divorce papers. When she realized that their marriage was irreparable, she told their son the truth. She accepted responsibility for the lost happy years they had spent together. They sold their house, divided their belongings and moved on with their lives independently. Eric chose to distance himself from Sophie, who had recently become single. He advised her to move on and meet someone new. I am a 46-year-old divorce. Sophie encountered difficulties in finding a suitable partner, particularly given her recent weight gain. She had once thought she was attractive, but her previous experiences had made her feel less confident. After 6 months of dedication to fitness, I had lost my excess weight and was in excellent shape. I met Patricia, a charming, 37-year-old divorced woman with a lovely 9-year-old daughter named Melissa. Patricia possessed an impressive physique and valued a devoted, caring partner. She treated me with great respect and we formed a strong bond. Melissa and I developed a close bond and I enjoyed pampering her. Sophie, now 50 years old, appeared as a single woman at Jonathan's graduation. She felt isolated and dissatisfied with how her life had unfolded. Jonathan told her about my new family, which made her even more upset. Seeing me with my lovely wife and daughter caused sadness and jealousy. Sophie apologized to our son for her previous actions and poor treatment of me. She could not forgive herself for giving into temptation with someone she considered a jerk. Losing my love made her realize the importance of her previous life and the pain she caused. All of this heartache and loss was caused by her selfish desires. In an extraordinary turn of events, my life improved significantly within a year of the divorce being finalized. Patricia's ex-husband had cheated on her and she promised never to make that mistake again. In our marriage, we remained devoted and loyal to each other for the next 30 years, and we were blessed with 3 grandchildren from Melissa and Jonathan's marriage. Unfortunately, we never heard from Eric again following his injury. Sophie, who never remarried, spent the next 2 decades as an isolated elderly woman, haunted by the guilt of betraying her husband and ruining her once happy life. Jonathan found happiness with a wonderful wife, expanded our family with another grandchild, and formed strong bonds with my new family. I only met Sophie once at one of Jonathan's events and she died. No feeling is more bittersweet than your beloved person becoming a treasured memory. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.